Hi everyone, welcome to Starsight. My name is Samya Vasa. I'm an astrologer and a tarot reader. On the 27th of December, 5:30 in the morning, we have the full moon in Cancer, Indian Standard Time. I just spent an hour recording a video on the new moon in Cancer. Mercury is still in retrograde, and for some reason, for days now, I've been thinking of the lunation on the December of 27th to be a new moon when it's actually a full moon. Full moon signifies the end of a 6 month cycle, and whatever topics we've been working with, even if they're not completely over, like a lot of the big arcs of our life are not going to find their culmination in 6 months. Still, at the full moon, what we find is that a particular stage has been reached in that particular arc. Something feels like it can be articulated. Something of our process finds form. Sometimes it could be that it's an internal form that you're able to articulate in the form of a statement. Okay, now I can see this, or now I have understood this, or this is what I've learned. And sometimes the form is external, so an opportunity could come in that seems to recognize the work that you've done, or you get the results of an exam or an interview or something, or someone asks if you can do this for them and they have no reason to know that you've been working on it, things like that. So it could be some kind of synchronicity where the world around you mirrors your progress back to you, or it could be something within yourself. It doesn't even have to be progress, it can also be something like, okay, I've understood this doesn't work for me, or I now give up. I've been trying this for the last 4 years and I'm ready to give this up. So it could also be progress in that negative sense where you decide to give up on something. This full moon is very emotional and watery, and I mean, generally, full moons are, but this particular full moon is especially so. It's powerful and healing, and it's going to it's going to signify a bunch of deep emotional waves within us and in the collectives around us. Now, with emotional waves, by themselves, they're not good or bad. It's our relationship to those waves that decide whether it's going to be destructive or constructive. And sometimes you need destruction, and other times you need to be stable. You need to create a space where those waves can come in and go, can crash and ebb and flow without disturbing something vital of the fabric of your life. So, for all of us, it's going to be different how we manage these emotional waves, what we seek from them, what is the kind of cleansing that we need this time at the full moon in Cancer. This is a big one because the moon already is at home in Cancer. Cancer is its home sign, but it is going to form a sextile with Jupiter in Taurus. Now, the moon is already at home in Cancer, but Jupiter is the exalted ruler of Cancer. And the fact that Jupiter is in a sextile with the moon means that there is additional amplification of this full moon energy. There is additional support. It's like you've been elected prime minister, excellent, but then you discover that the president who's been elected is your best friend. So it's like, wow. So not only do you have a lot of power and responsibility, but your boss is on your side already. It's like that. Jupiter is on the side of the moon already, and so it's amplification and a lot of support. And then, in addition to that, so the moon is in home in Cancer, but it's the exalted ruler of Taurus, where Jupiter is. And so Jupiter and the moon are also in this kind of a mutual reception where Jupiter is the exalted ruler of Cancer and the moon is the exalted ruler of Taurus. So, very beautiful harmony here, and there is potential at this full moon that the thing that we understand, the point of our progress, of our culmination, of the arc, of the topics that we are exploring through this cycle, there is potential that at this full moon we achieve a kind of integration between the physical body and the emotional body, between the appetites of the physical body and the desires of the emotional body. This integration is generally very, very hard to achieve, right? We never know why we're doing the things we're doing. I'm hungry right now. Really? Are you hungry or are you anxious? Even if you're hungry, is the food food or do you think that it is love? Is it food that you think you're eating or it is security, assurance? We never know what is the actual quality of what we seek. We think we're seeking one thing, but psychically it often means radically different things, and often we are lost in this difference. Because I think I'm eating food, I'm eating enough, and turns out that no, I'm actually eating very little because I'm afraid of love, and that's what food is to me, you know. So it makes judgment really difficult. This is why self-care is very hard, self-regulation is very hard, because we are in such a field of misrecognition and confusion that we don't even know what it is that we are regulating or towards what end. What we consider to be regulated within us, it's not. And what we consider to be chaotic is exactly what we need. But here we are trying to turn everything upside down in a world where everything is already upside down. So the realm of the body, especially the overlap between the physical body and the emotional body is extremely hard to navigate. And this is where we get a lot of psychosomatic trouble, where we think, well, I hurt my knee, it was not psychological. And turns out that the only thing that can take care of your knee is you getting into therapy. Because yes, the wound was physical, but the reason that it is persisting is not physical. So there's a lot of, psychosomatic stuff is notoriously hard to deal with, in ourselves and also with others. Sometimes you know that a loved one is struggling not because of physical thing but an emotional problem, but it's really hard for them to see it. So this is the territory that we are in with this with this full moon in Cancer, and we have a very real opportunity because of the Jupiter and Taurus tie-up with the Cancerian moon to actually take care of ourselves in a way that we are able to honor the truth of our body. I'm going to give you an example of what that could look like. My nephew and niece were born less than 2 years ago, and I was lucky to be present when they were born, and then for the next 2 months, I took care of them for hours during the day, cleaning them, taking care of them, feeding them, making sure they're comfortable. They were born premature, they were twins, so very tiny, and um, they they contracted jaundice soon after they were born. This happens a lot with premature babies. Luckily, they didn't have to be hospitalized, but we had to be very, very careful with their care. And so it's like someone was with them 24/7. So my duty was morning 7 to sometime in the evening. And so in the morning, I would go get them from whoever was taking care of them during the night, early morning, and I'd bring them out into the living room where we had created some space for them. Place them on their own thick blankies kind of a thing. It's on a couch near a big window. And I remember that it was the third or the fourth day. They were just 3 or 4 days old. I got them out, and a bird was singing outside of the window. I opened the window, and a bird was singing outside of the window. And my niece opened her eyes and she started moving her head like that to the rhythm of the bird's song. Like she really recognized that there is a sound here that is distinctive, or there is a dis there is a there's an entity here. There's a rhythm here that she can recognize. Sorry, that's a circular sentence. But I was really I was really astonished that that there was something in her that could recognize here is a rhythm, here is something that is separate from me to which I can attune myself. Later that day, when the birds were singing again, I said to her, "Can you hear that?" She was so tiny, she didn't even know how to smile. But day after day, morning after morning, we would listen to the birds together. She would always open her eyes in the morning when she would hear the birds singing, even if she was asleep. And slowly, you know, during the day, it was very easy for her to pick out those sounds. When she started smiling, she would smile in response to the bird song. If we would take her outside, she would strain her eyes to see if there was anything that she could hear. 4 days old, 5 days old. And this is the bodily appetite that she's come into this incarnation with. It's the bodily appetite for the call of the other, for the call of the unknown, for something outside of her to make her feel alive, for something outside of her to help her say, "I am." Now she's 1.5 years old, and this is still true of her. My nephew, on the other hand, twins. My nephew, on the other hand, as soon as he was born, all he wanted was warmth, specifically human warmth. But even if a human wasn't available, he would want to burrow into his blankets, always needing to be safe. Even when he was feeding, he'd need a little bit extra to feel like if he needed more, it was there. You know, that extra bit was not about him needing to feel full. It was about him needing to feel that if he needed more, there would have been more. Very beginning, he would always look for safety and warmth and assurance that his needs were going to be met. Whether he wanted to go to sleep or he was in distress, whatever the problem, the solution for him was, hold me. Hold me. and hold me beyond my physical need, hold me beyond what I actually need to feel safe, that little bit extra. And he's still like that. So, this is the bodily appetite that he's come into this incarnation with, which is the hunger for safety, which is the hunger for a feeling, not only that your lack will be met, but no matter how intense your lack, there is going to be enough. I was so moved and astonished to see these things in them when they were so tiny, like they had whole personalities already. But I was also very conscious of the fact that I'm 36 right now, and I don't know what my core bodily appetite is. We go through so much conditioning and education and just formation of our public selves, of our regulated selves, that we don't know what that core bodily appetite is that we've come into this life with. Now imagine if, when she's old enough to make professional choices, imagine if she was anchored in this knowledge of her need for the call of the unknown, her need for adventure, her need for what was unfamiliar, to make her feel like she was at home, that she was alive. Imagine if she knew this when she was making professional decisions, how aligned she would be to the life that she created for herself. It doesn't mean she won't face struggles, but those struggles won't be draining, those struggles will be constructive. That pain will be glorious. Or imagine my nephew knowing that safety is crucial to his well-being. If he would know that he can't choose a workplace, or he can't choose a partner who does not offer him that extra that he needs, where that extra is not experienced as a burden by the other, but as something, as an opportunity to express, to receive, to give. What if he knew that as he grew older and started to make choices about the friends that he made, or the people that he surrounded himself with, or the fields of study that he chose for himself? What would his life look like? What would our lives look like if we had an inkling of what was the core bodily appetite that we came into this incarnation with? Now, this is what the full moon in Cancer promises to us, like an opening, like a little bit of a glimpse into what that is for us, so that we can start building our lives on the correct foundation. See, cancer is not about judging whether this appetite is good or bad. Cancer is about honoring our bodily appetites, whatever they are. Whatever they are. To not do it in a way that's harmful to others or destructive even to ourselves. To do it in a regulated way. Regulation is a key word for cancer, because otherwise you're just in an ocean of feelings and there's nothing to stop you from drowning. But remember that Cancer is the exalted ruler of Cancer. This is why it is Jupiter that gives us perspective. Yes, we are in an ocean of feelings, but there's some shallowness here, there's some depth there, so we can decide where we want to be. If we move to the left, then, you know, it's a little warmer. If we move towards the right, the waves are a little bit deeper, if that's what you seek. Jupiter gives us that anchoring in Cancer, which allows us to make meaning and allows us to watch ourselves go through that ever renewing ocean of emotion. I was going to say something else too. Distracted by the child. It's gone. Yeah, I was going to say, distracted by the child, I was going to talk about the child. You know, Cancer is also, wherever Cancer is in our charts, we are on the one hand connected to the Divine Mother, but on the other hand, that's also the part of our charts where we have to learn to be good mothers to ourselves. And archetypally, what a good mother teaches you is self regulation. The good father teaches you how to act. The good mother teaches you how to be. And this, at this full moon, therefore, we are reaching a particular high point in our journey towards regulating ourselves. But it's not regulation just in the sense of managing ourselves so that we can be good girls or good boys or good people or whatever, or we can be productive citizens of the world. No, so that we can regulate ourselves in relation to what we are here for. We can regulate ourselves in relation to what we really seek, what our core appetite really is. It's a very different kind of perspective than that of productivity. It's more about satisfaction. Those are two very different words. We tend to mix them up because of all kinds of reasons, but being productive and being satisfied are very different things. And this full moon, actually, those two words are getting pried apart because the full moon is happening in Cancer, and the full moon happens when it's bang opposite the sun. And always with the full moon in Cancer, the sun is in Capricorn. And the sun, like there's a sextile between the moon and Jupiter, on the sun's side there is a sextile between the sun and Saturn. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. And so there also we have a very fruitful partnership happening. There we are learning exactly about productivity. What is true productivity? But that will get more amplified with the new moon in Capricorn. But right now, with the full moon, we are getting into the question of satisfaction. We are privileging satisfaction over productivity. We do that right now, and then in 15 days of the new moon in Capricorn, we'll have a chance to return to the question of productivity. Right? So, this full moon, it's really powerful, and all of this should happen organically within you, right? Maybe not in the language that I've used here, but this integration, this sense of what it is that you really seek at the level of the body, both physical and emotional, this should occur naturally within you. This awareness should come up organically within you, and it will. Whatever you've been doing over the last 6 months in the Cancer part of your chart, it will come to a particular kind of head at the full moon. If you don't know what topics Cancer addresses in your chart, you can share your rising sign in the comments and I can help you with identifying those topics. But so this is, I am really curious to see what this full moon brings up for all of us. Don't be afraid of the depths at this full moon, of your own emotional depths, of other people's emotional depths. You might find, especially with Mercury being retrograde, you might find that people are in the mood to talk a lot. People are in the mood to share a lot of themselves unasked, unprovoked. And they're speaking in a voice that seems to be sort of different than the voice they usually speak in. It's a deeper voice, it's a more open voice, because they kind of don't know. You know, sometimes when we are talking and we don't know what kind of point we are trying to make, but we just have to follow the trail of our thoughts. It's that kind of a time. So if someone close to you start speaking to you about their heart, sit with them, listen. If you feel the need to bear your own self, to talk about your own heart, don't stop yourself. Don't be afraid of emotions at this full moon. Go into them like you would if you were standing at the edge of the ocean. Don't just dip your feet in the water. Go in, because it can, there is a chance at this full moon to feel really cleansed, not because you are far away from the wetness of existence, but because you've embraced it. No, cleansed not because you're really detached and you know what it's all about, and you know what you need to do, and you know where you're going. No, cleansed because you accept that you don't. I've been talking for the last 1.5 hours, so I'm going to stop now, but have a beautiful full moon. I hope it's all of these things for you, and that your moment of integration is conscious.